I felt that all these tools that had come out were really missing the point of what it means to be a practicing lawyer, and that something needs to really fill that gap. AI seemed to be smart enough. It's just that the systems built around it did not seem to be catered towards lawyers. No matter which tool or company we were talking about or working with, even though they had hired a number of attorneys to obviously be product managers, lead the product, there always felt like a disconnect. There was always a disconnect between the product and really who it was meant to be assisting or working for, right? And that's the pain point that we solved literally from day one with Iqidis. It was tackling the substantive day-to-day work that lawyers do, not just building a ChatGPT wrapper or fancy UI UX around different AI, systems. It really comes down to not just AI. It comes down to building things for your target market.
Welcome to another episode of Lex's Input, where we explore the intersection of technology, innovation, and the humans behind them. Today, I'm joined by Sabih Siddiqi, a New York-based attorney and the founder of Iqidis, a legal tech company building what he calls the legal operating system for the modern lawyer. Sabih spent over 7 years in big law as a trial lawyer and deal counsel, working across complex litigation and cross-border matters. What makes Iqidis different is that it's not just a tech tool. It was built by someone who practiced at the highest level and understands the nuance and pain points of real legal workflows. Iqidis is already being used by over 200 lawyers, all before a formal public launch, and it's quickly becoming a serious alternative to the legacy tools in the space. So welcome, Sabih. Happy to have you on.
Likewise, Alexa, thank you so much. And by the way, I've always loved how you say lawyer with your Tennessee accent. So
yeah, I think I caught myself a couple times on if I should try to correct myself and say lawyer, but usually I say lawyer. So I don't know. I'll probably go back and forth a little.
Well, I think you're perfectly fine with the first one.
Thanks. Thanks. I appreciate it. So let's start off a bit like some background. Walk me through your journey into big law and how you've now become a legal tech founder.
Oh, Emily, listen, I went straight through from undergrad into law school, right? And I think my journey going into big law started even before law school itself.
Mm-hmm.
When I was an undergrad, I did a number of different sort of competitions, debate, mock trial, mock mediation, and that really got my feet wet in what I kind of knew I wanted to practice, right? Or focus my practice on. When I went to law school, of course, you're exposed to really everything. And in law school, I was exposed to, of course, legal research tools. We were using really a lot of things that lawyers use in terms of day-to-day practice. And of course, I continued doing the competitions and whatnot, international arbitration, and going up from there. So my concentration was always around disputes and really in a commercial setting as well. So as far as big law is concerned, when I knew I needed to sort of, enter practice, I interviewed with a number of firms. Watson Farley seemed like the best fit at that time. And frankly, it's been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal 7 years at the firm. I've gotten a lot of experience, of course, with its dispute resolution, international arbitration, and then a large portion of my practice has also been transactional or commercial work, right? So really done a lot of different things. And the really cool part is the firm really enabled me early on to, get my own clients, which doesn't really happen much in big law because I had my law firm's backing and the support of my supervisor, John, really did build a book of practice and that, one thing led to another. And after 7 years, I had my own practice as well, or a small one at least. Did a lot of work with the firm, even acted as the outside GC for a large banking group. So it's been a crazy ride to say the least, right? But that's sort of been it in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's impressive. I mean, and 7 years is a while too, and you seem like you were a bit fast-tracked even in that 7 years. So what was the breaking point or moment that you realized that you wanted to start something completely new?
So there was never really a breaking point, right? I think it was a very, very slow, long, and warranted build up to what I'm doing now. Starting in reverse, what I'm doing now with Iqidis is really, it's the precipice and basically an amalgamation of everything that I'm literally good at, right? But since the beginning, since, I don't know, grade school, right? Since kindergarten even, maybe, I've always looked to, streamline systems, find better and more efficient ways to do things. Of course, you got to maintain quality as a lawyer specifically. Things have to be detail oriented. And I've always kept that. But the breaking point, there really never was one. I always, was trying to create more efficient systems around our practice, using new tools and ways to just be a better lawyer. Obviously, when ChatGPT came out 2.5, 3 years ago, or whenever it really was, started just getting my feet wet with it in terms of, let's see if it could, make a better sentence, if it could, help me here or there. Of course, never entering confidential client information to GPT or anything like that, right? But at the same time, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. Knew that I wanted to probably do something with this because it just seemed so obvious to me, at least. Then some tools like Harvey and CoCounsel came out. And frankly, I thought that I was probably too late to the game, right? Got exposure to Harvey through a number of friends and firms that have been, started utilizing it. And not saying anything negative, but at the same time, maybe, just felt that we could do a better job. I felt that all these tools that had come out were really missing the point of what it means to be a practicing lawyer, and that something needs to really fill that gap. AI seemed to be smart enough. It's just that the systems built around it did not seem to be catered towards lawyers. No matter which tool or company we were talking about or working with, even though they had hired a number of attorneys to obviously be product managers, lead the product, there always felt like a disconnect. There was always a disconnect between the product and really who it was meant to be assisting or working for, right? And that's the pain point that we solved literally from day one with Iqidis. It was tackling the substantive day-to-day work that lawyers do, not just building a ChatGPT wrapper or fancy UI UX around different AI, systems. It really comes down to not just AI, because you have to be model agnostic, of course. It comes down to building things for your target market. And obviously, having practiced for 7 years, having had my own clients, having done a variety of different work, we always knew what lawyers needed. And then it was just about getting that specific product and those products to market. And that's what we've done over the last few months. So.
Yeah, that's a great story. I know you have a couple people that you're working with. How did that come about? Like, how did the formulation of Iqidis start?
Let me start with, obviously, the people that aren't necessarily involved in the day-to-day. It is, and that includes a lot of my friends, right? That includes all the lawyers and colleagues that I have. And they've been instrumental in terms of feedback and just being, bouncing ideas off of and whatnot. But then comes Devansh, right? He is our head of AI. I consider him one of my best friends, but not only that, I mean, he's a phenomenal AI researcher and on the implementation side, right? So with Devansh, we have always wholeheartedly, because now obviously it's been some time that I've been working on Iqidis and with Iqidis. So I've taken, significant time and effort to understand and learn AI and different AI systems, and of course, the UI UX around things. But having learned all of that, I've appreciated Devansh more and more as the days go on, right? I understand that what he does and what he has brought to us, A, is not easy to do. B, you can't just get up and sort of put together some AI systems, call yourself a head of AI. It doesn't work that way. I met Devansh over a year ago at a legal tech conference. And frankly, that was the best conference that I've been to, solely because I met him. And otherwise, all the other, AI conferences I've been to that revolve around legal are just really the same thing over and over again. So Devansh, again, one of my great friends, but also a veritable part of the company at this point.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's great. A great find. Thanks for making the introduction. For any of those listening, Devansh is also on the podcast and in a previous episode, so take a listen. He is really great at what he does and awesome at sharing information and building things. So that's great that you found someone good. I think it's good that you have someone like that with you as well.
For sure.
So just for a second, can you tell me a little bit about the name? How'd you get the name?
The name, it's a bit of a funny story. It's literally my last name backwards without an extra D. right?
Yeah.
It just sounded artificially intelligent. Um, we chose it, it stuck, and now we're just running with it. We've thought about changing it, but at this point, I don't think we're going to. So
I like it. That's a good story. Yeah, and I noticed that it's missing a D. I was wondering why. Just it looks nice. It looks nice the way it is too. It's nice that your last name backwards actually could sound normal, like mine wouldn't. So that's pretty cool.
fair enough, and it almost sounds as if it's from like Greek mythology or something like that. Oh, like
Yeah.
Icarus, Iqidis. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, like mine would be like Hatifferg or something. That's like not even real.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really weird. So that's cool.
Figure something out.
So how do you think that your time that you spent being a litigator has shaped your thinking around, what legal AI should really do?
So there's a number of ways to answer that question, right? And before we even get into what legal AI um, should do, and how being a lawyer has really shaped that, um, practicing for over 7 years, that's what really instilled in me what it really means to be a lawyer, right? You don't learn that within your first year. You don't learn that within your second, third, fourth. Maybe by your fifth, you're starting to understand what it really means to be a lawyer, because obviously you have to balance risk. You have to understand legal nuances. You have to understand what the client is looking for, what the firm needs, right? And again, it is a whole aspect or paradigm of being able to balance risk appropriately for everyone involved. And you don't really learn that, in the beginning years. So there's that one aspect, and that is integral to what obviously legal AI should be, right? Because again, you have to balance the risk. You have to balance what output your AI is providing. You have to understand what systems attorneys need, right? What support they actually need. So being a practicing attorney has really informed that aspect of it, right? Which is the substantive work aspect. Because, frankly, finally, after all these years of practicing, right? I don't know when it happened. But if you give me a complaint, a brief, or corporate agreement, or, whatever it really is, um, if you're a good enough attorney, I think you could take a glance at it, and within 30 seconds, you can tell whether or not something's good. So getting to that end legal work product is magnanimously important.
Hmm.
Has always been important for me in my own practice, but then obviously extremely important and the outputs that Iqidis provides. So if I were to say how in one sort of fell swoop Iqidis or my legal practices shape Iqidis, it is being able to do or assist really well with that substantive work, getting to that end legal work product. Everything else that we've built around it is sort of my significant interest in building efficient systems in design and user interfaces, all that sort of stuff that I've had a long-standing interest in, right? Which is where the product is sort of being informed by, or the product information comes from. We had thought about, having product managers, design people, that sort of stuff. And frankly, no, right? We tried it. It doesn't work. I am very, very close to the product on a daily, minute by minute basis sometimes, right? But all of that comes from me. And, I think that's because I've had an interest, obviously, in law. I've had an interest in creating efficient systems. And I also have a very large interest in product. So,
Awesome. So we've danced around it a little, but let's get into the details of Iqidis. So what is Iqidis in your own words?
Iqidis right now, the core product that we have out, which is Iqidis Core, is basically an AI associate, right? It helps, as I've mentioned, with your day-to-day substantive work. I think that's the best way to explain it, because no other legal AI tools really do that. They've created fancy UI, UXs around, AI wrappers. But again, always missing the substantive work. If you want a fulsome draft of a complaint, of articles of incorporation, corporate documents, a loan agreement, whatever it really is, Iqidis can do it, right? That's what it is at its core. What we're building into is basically a full end-to-end legal operating system, meaning lawyers will be able to start and end their day with Iqidis. So, I'm hoping I don't hit any copyright, and all rights reserved to whoever maybe already copyrighted this, but it's basically like a Bloomberg for law in some senses, right? So yeah, here we are.
Okay, so a lawyer is the person using Iqidis right now. And right now they can go there for various things that you mentioned. You have various features. Um, you want it to be a full platform. So what are you missing right now?
We're
Or what
not
do you
missing.
need to make it that?
Yeah, we're actually not missing much, right? Which is what's really interesting. And I'm trying to come at this from an aspect of humility, actually. But the really cool part is, if you take a look at our Jira board, in which we have our sprints, we have 5-day sprints, 7-day sprints, 2-week sprints, right? Since the inception of Iqidis and since we really launched our first beta product, all the feedback that we've received has actually already been in our Jira board, right? It's been a matter of now reprioritizing it in terms of, let's give this a little bit more priority because this is where our users are saying. So Iqidis, at the end of the day, as I've alluded to, is completely an insider mission, right? I know that some platforms have been saying, oh, built by lawyers for lawyers. What does that really mean? We actually are built by lawyers for lawyers, right? So as far as what we need in order to become a full platform, just a little bit more time, right? We have what we call Team C right now. So there are 3 development teams. One of them is working on finalizing Iqidis Essentials, which is the AI legal operating system, right? We're going to be releasing it on a tier basis in terms of functionality. We'll build up the functionality. We already have a number of tools that will be launched on day one, but we'll be essentially building and placing all those tools within there. Yeah, without me giving away too much more, I think that's it.
When is the launch day?
So Iqidis Core has been out for a little bit of time now. That's the AI associate that is always going to be central to everything that we do. The AI associate is going to live within the legal operating system itself. That AI associate will continuously make better, right? And users absolutely love the functionalities that we've baked in right now. So we've already launched, obviously, Core, right? Essentials, what we're thinking, it's April 25th right now. Probably within about a month, we'll launch Essentials in the legal operating system. Core, again, users can use right now. People absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, I know it's taken a lot of work to get to this point and have that all planned out. And I know it must be very validating also to see that the feedback you're getting are things that you've already thought of. So I feel like you must be getting to a pretty rewarding point in the journey, no?
Yeah. A problem that I've always had, and I know is sort of a personal issue, is that I don't really take the time to stop and smell the roses.
Yeah.
There have definitely been large inflection points, right? As today was also an inflection point. It was a very happy day because we got some pretty good feedback, right? That we are, for some users, better than other large name or big name products, right? From my perspective, all that means is what we're doing right now, we're doing it right. We have to do more of it. And we just have to keep on building up. So we're not going to stop.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little. What feedback are you getting about these other competitors? And also, can you explain a bit about these other competitors in the space for those listening who may not be aware and like maybe what you think they're missing compared to you?
Yeah, of course, right? So let's start with feedback and break that down because the feedback that we're getting is sort of coming from 2 pools or 2 categories. Category 1 is really lawyers that have been so inundated with this fragmented legal AI market, right? Where they don't know what to use or who to trust. That's a big portion of where we come in. The trust aspect is there because, again, I'm building this for myself in some ways, right? So if it's not good for me, I will not launch a product. I will stop it before it goes out to even the beta testers, right? There's that aspect. So feedback 1 from people who have not used AI in much of a capacity really other than GPT. They absolutely love it because now they have something that is not only secure, but again, works, thinks, analyzes like a real lawyer, right? So there's that aspect. The second pool of feedback that we're getting are from people that have had experience with other legal AI tools, right? And just as you saw today, one gentleman who had used a number of different tools said that ours is the best, right? And frankly, he's used the larger ones as well: Harvey, CoCounsel, Paxton, Leia, whatever. So that's a very good and validating point for us. What's different about us from a theoretical point of view is our leadership, right? Our leadership is, sure, it's me, but it's coming generally from a legal mind and legal perspective. That's what's so important. Second, our team is extremely agile, right? We are very lean and we're going to always stay lean. Okay. And then third, what's really different, right? Let's say for users and even from a competition standpoint, we're building our tools and functionalities for real world use. Okay. What that means is we are not taking a whole kitchen sink approach as some of our competitors are, right? They're going online. They're going to Reddit, maybe seeing the new things that are coming out for, AI and just, providing a little bit of a legal tint to it and then baking it into their systems, right? That's not what we're doing. I mean, I have Devansh, right? We know everything that's coming out. We're really well aware of agents, MCPs, everything. But we're not taking a kitchen sink approach. Users will have no idea how to utilize half of these things, right? And they don't. We've tried some things that were new and then we rolled them back or pared them back. We're really building for the end user. And what's crucial though is you can hire and spend millions of dollars on market research and trying to listen to lawyers that are using your product. It's not going to work if you're not a lawyer on the receiving end, right? And if you don't understand how you can actually comport their feedback into live tools or live product escalation, right? That's where we come in. That's where I come in. That's where Devansh comes in. He's spent a long time with me now. So have the other team members. So we acutely know when someone tells us of an issue, or even if they have an inkling of an idea, right, of what they might want to see. Guess what? Probably within 5 days, you're going to see an improvement in the system, or you're going to see a new feature pop up, right, with their exact feedback. We don't have to take it back to a focus group, right? No. And frankly, we're never going to do that. We just have to think about it internally and just launch. That's it. So.
Yeah, that's nice. And you mentioned that you're already getting all this user feedback and, but you're still pretty early. You haven't officially launched some features yet. You have your core feature. How have you been getting these users before this launch already? And why do you think it is that they're adopting it so early?
So let me clarify a little bit, right? And I misspoke a little bit. We've technically already launched. It's more so I'm leaving my law firm very soon, right? So what that means is it's gone to a point, obviously, where I need to devote my full attention to this. And we're going to be doing a lot more things publicly at this point, right? And me being at the helm of it all is going to change and it's going to change some things internally as well, which is going to be great. As far as the product that we've had out, we've not done even one bit of marketing, right? I've not sent one marketing email, neither has Devansh. No one has. It's all been word of mouth, right? We have been in bar association, forum chats, Reddit chats, various forums and circles for some time, right? We have a wait list or basically an interest list of like 1,000 people plus, right? We have not been able to tackle that simply because obviously we know that we don't want to release to everyone just yet. We want to have a really good customer-centric experience, which is centered on the lawyers. So we've been going one step at a time. So everyone that's come onto the platform has been through one form of another of word of mouth.
Oh, that's impressive. And it's a great story to bring to investors. Do you have investors, or is that something you're going to pursue?
What's interesting is we have some investors, right? And I love the investors that we have, because they believe in us and they believe in me, right? So they have really just left us alone in some senses.
Nice.
They've also given us one investor who I really do appreciate. I appreciate all of them, but I really do appreciate 57 Blocks, because they've not only given us capital, but they also have devoted a portion of their development team to us, right? So working with them on both fronts has been great, but they understand the direction that we're going in. And they also understand that, listen, no one is going to work harder at this than us, right? Literally. At this point, it is 24/7. So from that aspect, yes, we have investors. We have great investors. Taking a step back, I am not a serial founder, right? I'm not doing this to churn and burn a company or just I had a new idea and I want to do this and let's see how it works out. No, as lawyers, we calculate risk a lot, right? So this was a big calculation in my mind. And at this point, yes, I am taking a risk, but at the same time, like we're in it for the long haul completely, right? So not being a serial founder is awesome in some senses because the aspect or the angle that I'm coming at this from is A, as a lawyer, B, from a business perspective, right? We want to make this a sustainable, profitable company that does really, really well. Our core and central tenets include one thing, the customer, right? That is it. Response times, building, everything is geared towards the customer. No one else, not towards investors, not towards anyone else. So for us, we're really focused on one thing. We don't have a lot of noise or someone telling us, you must do this, you need to get X by X date. We don't have that. What we will do is because we've been in a lot of warm and hot conversations with investors, we've actually slowed a lot of that down. We have turned away some investors at this point, investors that might not meet either our internal valuation, which I don't think is, high at all, but also in terms of our mission statement and our goals of building. So what we will do is we will run on the capital that we have, and I bootstrapped a lot of it in the beginning. We will continue as we are with the capital that we've raised, and we're going to go for a big one later on when the time is appropriate. So
amazing. And so that's exciting. And it's nice when you have people coming to you too, So what was the moment that you decided to go in full time on this? Was it pressure from other people, or was there a moment where you said, okay, now it's worth it? How did you know?
So there's two aspects to this, right? There's the sort of just real basic procedure and protocol aspect. I've always liked and loved being a lawyer. And there was coming a point in time in which I knew that there was going to be a conflict of interest at some point. Rather, not necessarily a conflict of interest, but more so a conflict of time, right? And devotion. So if I can't devote enough time to my law firm's clients, there's a problem in that, right? And when I saw that problem arising, not before it arose, while it was arising, I gave notice to the firm, essentially, right? So that was the real point in time in which I was like, all right, listen, I need to be able to devote my full attention to this. I've always known that this is going to be it. This is what I wanted to do because I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago in terms of where legal practice is going. Because at the end, yes, we have our goals with our product and what we want to do, but let me be very clear. I think legal practice is changing completely. It will be very, very different within the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And we want to be on the forefront of that. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you are. So what is it like? This is your first time being a founder, as you mentioned. What is it like going from practicing law to being a founder? Is there anything unexpected about it, or is it kind of what you expected?
A lot of what I've heard and expected, sure, right? I think what I do as a litigator and commercial attorney is you have to always be learning, right? You get in a new client, you get in a new case, you have to learn everything about that client, about the matter, about the business. So doing all of that was already in line with how I've been trained as an attorney. So shifting gears and understanding, AI, understanding technology and systems, UI, UX, everything. Of course, it wasn't easy, but it was something that I wasn't necessarily uninclined to do. So yeah, it's been absolutely insane. I'm probably working a lot more than I was before, which is also crazy to say. Mm-hmm. A lot of it's expected. I love it. I think this is what I'm best at. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to build something that you'd want to use because you really care about it. You're really invested in it and you're not just building to build. So I like that you brought that up. What do you see for the future of Iqidis? Like, what do you dream for it to be?
The operating system for attorneys. Right? Every lawyer, every legal adjacent team or professional should be on this platform simply because we are removing the frictions and barriers that have been placed in technology by Silicon Valley VCs, tech guys, or whatever it really is, whatever you want to call it. We want everyone to be on this platform, not because, we just want everyone as customers, but because things need to change in how we're doing legal work, right? Legal adjacent work even. And frankly, that's why, we haven't outpriced people. We're not, we're giving discounts where necessary for nonprofits and stuff like that. We're being really open. Because again, this is a complete impact project. It's not just some sort of a money grab or oh yeah, let's start a legal tech company now. How law is practiced, how legal professionals work needs to change, and we want to lead that. So what I see in the next few years is us becoming the premier platform for legal work, essentially. So
building a legal platform seems like it can be legal AI platform seems like it might be a bit more difficult than building a marketing AI platform, for example, because of maybe you need a lot of security or laws around privacy. Do you run into a lot of challenges around that are a bit difficult?
yeah, right. But the cool part is we didn't have to guess at those challenges. We didn't have to guess because obviously, I have some experience in data privacy and controls. That's great. Also coming from a large firm. Yeah. And coming from a large firm, I've always understood that obviously, we have to be IT compliant. There are different regimes and protocols for different firms, different clients have different needs and stuff like that. So our architecture from day one has actually just been really, really simple, right? And that's exactly what Devansh and I decided. We're going to architect and build something that is modular, that's containerized, that we can move things around so that we can be compliant, right? So what that means is security, privacy, data controls have been central to Iqidis literally since day one. So,
yeah, I'm sure that's a great point for people that are looking to use your platform as well.
of course.
So on a previous episode, I had a guest, Josh, he was a lawyer as well. And I was blown away by all the ways that he used AI day to day for practicing law. What are some other areas in legal tech today that people still don't talk about that you think are areas where it could be used?
So that's interesting, right? Because what we're seeing is obviously we have a lot of users and the users are giving us feedback and they love the new ways in which that they can use AI in their daily practice. What we are filling the gap in is our foresight of where lawyers aren't using it right now and how we can fill that gap in without the gaps that they don't even know exist, right? So creating a legal operating system is not just about creating an AI, right? It is way more than AI, right? It is, for example, without giving too much away, one aspect is our clients have said, oh, I'd love, for there to be a note taker for my meetings or stuff like that. I'm using XYZ right now. Everything is so disjointed. One very small example, right, is that we are creating something in-house for exactly that. Right? You won't have to leave the Iqidis system or environment in order to, take your notes, right? You have everything in one place and then it's filed appropriately, being able to understand how the filing needs to happen, being able to understand where the notes need to go, the privacy, shareability, all that sort of stuff is where we come in, right? So we are filling the gaps that lawyers don't even know about just yet.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember a couple use cases that Josh brought up, like creating medical images if they don't need to be professionally made, and playing like role playing with the judge or what the judge might ask or what the other lawyer might ask. Are there any other use cases that have surprised you in the way that people are using your platform that you wouldn't have thought of?
So just as Josh may have mentioned, right, of course, the role playing and all that sort of stuff is very interesting. We're seeing those things pop up here and there because there's so many niche practices, right? And things need to comport to them. And as long as you know how to prompt AI, and we've created new systems on prompting as well. We're releasing Iqidis Playbook next week, which is like a whole prompt library and you can architect your own prompt. I was blown away by what we've done with Iqidis Amplify, which let's say you include a prompt and it'll just take all the source content and context from your chat and just completely amplify what you're asking it. right? Including things you might not even thought about. So there's that aspect of it.
So it suggests extra things that you might not have added, like, oh, can I also help you with this or that? Is that what it does?
Absolutely. So the
Cool.
cool part is, let's say you've prompted the system on something, we're automatically going to suggest, would you like to XYZ,
Yeah.
right? In a very legal specific way. We've seen that even a step further now. Before you even enter your prompt, we'll probably try and guess what you want to do, right? And that has been going very well on the beta testing. So, and frankly, again, I was pretty blown away by it too. I apologize. The main question was,
are there any other use cases that have surprised you?
yeah, the surprising use cases are actually kind of the most obvious ones, right? As I mentioned, I'm just using this as a small example, lawyers and note taking, all sort of stuff, right? Having an AI system that does that, potentially billing, timekeeping, all these things that are pretty obvious that are not included in AI systems is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds great. I know law is a very, how to say it, conservative or traditional field typically. How do you think, from talking to people, do you think that the legal industry is, ready to adopt AI? Are they very open to it or no?
Not open to it, right? Rightfully so in some senses, because they're threatened. Obviously, the business is threatened, right? So people's livelihoods are potentially being threatened. The way that they've done things for so long is being changed, right? So there's those two large aspects of all of this. So people ask, why do I even want to change, right? Well, we are in a transition phase right now, right? Where you could start utilizing AI to your benefit to be more efficient, to provide much better quality work for your clients. Everyone is happy. We have 7 firms that have predominantly shifted their billing model from billable hours to fee-based, right? Using Iqidis. So there are huge opportunities. As far as adoption is concerned, yes, lawyers are always risk-averse and always have been, right? Cool part is everyone that's come to us has been open-minded, right? You're not coming to us if you don't want to try AI. So those waves of adoption are going to lead to larger adoption, right? Which is, again, why we are not taking the kitchen sink approach of throwing every single thing into our system. We are growing it as our users grow as well. So in terms of their education, their knowledge of these platforms.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan. And I firsthand have seen how, traditional or conservative that lawyers are, because my granddaddy used to work for him. He would always write on paper, and he wrote cursive. He would write letters on paper on a notepad, and then give that letter to his secretary to type to send. And I mean, I know that that's just one example, but that's what he preferred, and that's to write. And I feel like they really like pen and paper, or maybe some are more traditional than others because my granddad was older, obviously. But I'm sure it's a field with a lot of opportunity, but also one where you have to change the culture a little.
For sure. And I like that. What that reminds me of literally is with one particular type of work. It was the bane of my existence where I would have to sit there, right, while someone provides a handwritten comments to something, right? And then we have to sit there and talk about these comments and then turn these comments. I'm like, this could have been a much, much easier process. And frankly, I would have learned more if I didn't have to spend the time sitting here, right? So creating systems around all of that is exactly what we're doing, right? And we're building up and we're building with our users. So
who do you think is better positioned to make this change? Like big law or smaller firms?
Small firms.
Really? Why do you think that? Like less oversight generally, or very
by oversight is more less friction to decision making, right? And they need this the most. So, and frankly, I'm coming from a big law practice. I have a number of friends that have opened their own smaller firms, right? And they're doing phenomenally well, coming from big law and opening their own practices. And a number of people just opening their own practices now because they're powered by AI. They need this the most, right? Because it gives them a big law edge.
Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be an interesting way to play out that you'll see small firms adopting this technology, allowing them to do things quicker and in some cases better, and be leaner. And then, as you mentioned, big law will be hesitant to adopt it. So how do you see that playing out?
So with big law, right, it's interesting because big law's clients are now becoming wiser, right? Their eyes are opening to what is possible. Now, not every big law client is so concerned about fees because maybe they have a different fee model. Maybe a sponsor pays it, it depends on the deal, right? But if that client is the one that is paying those legal costs, they're always attuned to those legal costs, right? Now, they all know what's on the horizon, right? They see what's on the horizon. So they're asking questions now. They're asking, what are you using? How are you using it? Why did this cost so much when you could have done this? Right. We are also seeing, because we are working with a number of in-house teams, right? Those in-house teams are in-housing their external legal work. Okay. So the lawyers that aren't using AI or that are costing their best clients too much money by being inefficient are losing out on business to those clients, right? So big law will come around. It's not going to be the fastest, but they will come around.
And what do you think will happen in general to the legal industry? I think this is happening to many different industries, software engineers and tech and others as well. But how do you think this is going to shift the amount of lawyers or assistants that there are?
So I don't think that there's going to be any sort of a culling. I don't think that there's going to be less lawyers or maybe even less need for lawyers, right? What there will be a need for are people that are obviously using AI to better their practice. Some of our clients have, in fact, they're thinking about hiring. They're always wondering, how are we going to hire? Because we will now need to, like we have the cases, we have to get people up to speed, all that sort of stuff. Well, AI does a phenomenal job at assisting with the work right from day one. So now one of our clients, they've hired 2 new associates that both have Iqidis, right? They got Iqidis accounts on day one of them being attorneys. And frankly, this specific partner even said to me, listen, I thought that I was a pretty good user of AI. Like, these guys are power users though, right? From day one. So what that means is from day one, now those attorneys or those new attorneys have become a good part of the business, right? So there is no need to hire less people. Of course, now if you're a solo practitioner, if you have a 2 or 3 person shop and you were crunching numbers and then you were tight on your profits, this is a force multiplier, right? You're going to be able to do more work, better, faster, whatever, and hopefully make more money. But as you build up your practice, I'm sure you're going to have more hiring needs. And, one lawyer will be able to do a lot more work than before. Everyone wins.
Yeah. We might need less lawyers then, right?
I don't think that, legal work is going anywhere. Yeah.
I think it's the same in software engineering. Like, people will be way more productive and you'll still need them. Maybe there'll be more use cases, but generally you might need a little less. But that's okay too. That maybe new jobs will arise,
Absolutely.
Sure. So that's all I have mostly. Do you have any last words or piece of advice for those listening?
Not yet. I don't think I'm at a place where, I can start proffering really, really good advice. I mean, just my experience has been obviously build something that you really, that matters to you a lot. And then once you do it, put as much effort as you can behind it. After that, that's all you can really do. So.
That's great. Well, I'm excited for you. And your website is iqidis.ai, right?
Absolutely. Iqidis.ai.
Awesome. Well, good luck on the launch, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to Alexa's Input AI. And if you want to follow along with my new episodes, writing, content, everything I'm building, you can find me at alexagriffith.com, on Substack, on YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you enjoyed this conversation, it would mean a lot if you subscribed, shared this episode with a friend, left a quick rating or a comment to help more people to discover the show and keep these conversations going. Again, I'm really grateful you're here. This podcast started as a side project for me a few years ago, and Every listener who reaches out or keeps coming back reminds me exactly why I love doing this and I love putting so much time into it. I hope this episode gave you something to think about, something to talk about. So always stay curious, stay grounded, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for your support.